Hello students, today I'll give you a brief description of short story. Short story is a brief fictional prose narrative that is shorter than a novel and that usually deals with only a few characters. Short story is usually concerned with a single effect conveyed in only one or a few significant episodes or scenes. The form encourages economy of setting, concise narrative, and the omission of a complex plot. Character is disclosed in action and dramatic encounter, but is seldom fully developed. Despite its relatively limited scope, a short story is often judged by its ability to provide a complete or satisfying treatment of its characters and subject. Before the 19th century, the short story was not generally regarded as a distinct literary form. But although in this sense it may seem to be a uniquely modern genre, the fact is that short prose fiction is nearly as old as language itself. Throughout history, humankind has enjoyed various types of brief narratives like jests, anecdotes, studied digressions, short allegorical romances, moralizing fairy tales, short myths, and abbreviated historical legends. None of these constitutes a short story as it has been defined since the 19th century, but they do make up a large part of the milieu from which the modern short story emerged. As a genre, short story received relatively little critical attention through the middle of the 20th century, and the most valuable studies of the form were often limited by region or era. In his The Lonely Voice, published in 1963, the Irish short story writer Frank O'Connor attempted to account for the genre by suggesting that stories are a means for submerged population groups to address a dominating community. Most other theoretical discussions, however, were predicated in one way or another on Edgar Allan Poe's thesis that stories must have a compact, unified effect. A short story is a short work of fiction. Fiction, as we all know, is prose writing about imagined events and characters. Prose writing differs from poetry in that it does not depend on verses, meters, or rhymes for its organization and presentation. American literature contains some of the world's best examples of short story. Readers around the world enjoy the finely crafted stories of American writers such as O. Henry, Stephen Crane, Jack London, Mark Twain, and Edgar Allan Poe. What makes these authors such remarkable short story writers? These writers are true masters at combining the five key elements that go into every great short story. And these five elements are character, setting, conflict, plot, and theme. A character is a person, or sometimes maybe an animal, who takes part in the action of a short story or other literary work. The setting of a short story is the time and place in which it happens. Authors often use descriptions of landscape, scenery, buildings, seasons, or weather to provide a strong sense of setting. A plot is a series of events and character actions that relate to the central conflict. Conflict. The conflict is a struggle between two people or things in a short story. The main character is usually on one side of the central conflict. On the other side, the main character may struggle against another important character, against the forces of nature, against society, or even against something inside himself or herself, maybe feelings, emotions, or some kind of illness. The theme is the central idea or belief in a short story. So, these are the five basic elements that combine to form a great short story. So, a short story is mostly a short narrative and has few features. The standard features include exposition, complication, crisis, climax, and resolution of the crisis. However, it is not essential that all short stories follow the same pattern. So that's all for the brief description of short story. Thank you.